Hi friends and book lovers, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Allie and this is Kisty Reads. Today's video is going to be a first for me. It is my 5-star predictions, just one hand, so just 5-star predictions for books that I'm going to be reading and plan on reading this year. So I'm predicting that I'm going to love these books, that I'm going to give them 5 stars, and all that jazz. So let's get into this list. I've picked 10 books that I'm reading. Most of them will be read in the next like 3 or 4 months, so I feel like I can do another one of these maybe later on in the year. The top 10 list that I'm going to be talking about is all books that have already been out and I just haven't gotten to them, which is my own like booktube shame. But hopefully this year I should be able to get to them and I should hopefully fall in love with them because these are some of the reads and books I'm most excited for. So let's dive right into it. First, I'm gonna go with one that I've been talking about all 2020 and still haven't read, and that is A Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Now, I am starting to read her Shadow and Bone series, which is why I put this one off for so long, because I wanted to read her YA before I read her adult. I've heard really amazing things about her adult works, a lot more than I have for her YA works, but this one is set at Yale in this secret society, which Yale is notoriously known for. And Alex, our main character, has gotten a free ride to Yale, which is kind of like her second chance at college. And she has been tasked with monitoring the secret societies at Yale, which is like the best, most badass job. Like, I wish I had that job in college, but I didn't. Anyways, I get to follow Alex and live vicariously through her, so this just sounds like amazing. And I'm totally down for this story, and I think in one of these secret societies she discovers like this dark magic that's going on, and that's pretty much what I know about it, and that's all I want to know about it. Recently, a lot of rave reviews have come out about this book, so it makes me that much more excited to read it. As you know, if you've been on this channel for a while, if someone talks about a book and talks about a book in a good way and it's getting a lot of good reviews, that makes me way more comfortable to dive right into it, knowing that I'm probably gonna have a way more enjoyable experience. So this next one is the beginning of a series. It is a YA book, but I have just heard nothing but amazing things about it from all readers on this channel, on Bookstagram, readers that I know personally, and that is A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. The sequel to this is coming out sometime in 2021, so I definitely want to read this around the same time that the sequel is going to come out because I have a feeling that I'm going to want to binge both of them. But this is a book that follows, I think, 2 main characters that end up having to come together and like get married, but they both have the intent on killing the other for their own gain. And so Malik, our one main character, has to kill Karina, our other main character, in order to get his little sister back who got abducted, and Karina needs to kill Malik because she wants to resurrect her mother who has recently passed away, and they have to come together. And I think it's one of those like enemies or like suspicious enemies to lovers type of stories, but also with a really interesting fantasy world and background and politics. So by the sounds of the synopsis, this one seems to have a really interesting world, but also it sounds like there's going to be a nice romance in this one too, which I don't mind. I think I'll enjoy, and that's what I get from it. I have this beautiful edition and I just think everything about this is stunning. I think this is Roseanne A. Brown's debut novel, and again, I've heard nothing but amazing things about this book. I don't think I've heard one bad review for it, so it's one of those things that I'm excited to jump into, but I want to jump into it when the next one is coming out so that I can binge them both. The next one is a manga series, and I'm not going to go over the synopsis because I've gone over it a few times, and I think this is one of the most popular mangas that there is, and that is Death Note. This is volume 1. It is by Tsugumi Oba, and the art is by Takeshi Obata. So this is the first volume. I have the first 2 volumes of this, and I want to get the rest of them just to have, because I feel like I'm gonna fly right through this manga novel and want to get to all of them as fast as possible. Plus, they're really gorgeous. They're just really gorgeous mangas. Usually I don't love the covers for mangas, but for this one, I find it so stunning. So I had to get the physical copies. This one, I'm expecting it to be like dark, but also from what I hear, it ends up being like everyone's favorite manga series. And then once I read it, I want to watch the actual anime, which I know differs from the manga slightly. And there's 2 like separate fandoms for both the book and then the anime series, but I want to be able to like watch both and see what I think of them. So this is high on my list for 2021. So the next one is by an author that I've been really intrigued by, and I bought this book without actually knowing the subgenre that it fit into. And then I found out through friends which subgenre it does fit into, and that made me even more excited to read it because it is a subgenre that I'm trying to get more into and that I realize that I do enjoy, and that is fantasy romance. And this is a book by Tasha Suri, and it's called Empire of Sand. I believe this is the first one in a duology. I don't think it's a full series, but I think that there are two. I bought this, I think, late last year, but I still haven't gotten to it, and from the sounds of it, I've heard that she's a wonderful author, and I've heard that this is a great series. And she does have other series that are out, but this is going to be my first taste of her work. And I'm just so excited for that. So I don't know too much about this besides the subgenre and that it's fantasy and that it's Tasha Suri. And I'm going to go into it a little more blindly, and I still think it's going to be a 5-star read. Don't ask me how I know that without knowing like the full synopsis of a story, but I just get like a feeling, you know, like a gut feeling, like I'm going to really love this one, and I'm hoping that I'm right. So the next one is one that I purchased, but it hasn't come in yet, and that is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. It's one that originally I wasn't 100% interested in, and then the more I heard about it, the more I realized that it's something that I would really enjoy reading. So it's about this person that is passing into the afterlife, and it has to go to this library that has housed all of the decisions that she didn't make. Like if you would have made one decision over the other, that would have been another path that your life would have taken, and that would have taken you down another road completely. And all of those different, I guess, stories would be housed in that library from what I understand. And that is the premise of the book. I've heard that the first 50 pages are full of like trigger warnings, so it can be very trigger warning heavy. So if you are susceptible to that, just know that going into it. I am wary of certain trigger warnings, so knowing that, I'm just going to go into this with a little more caution. But I do feel like it's going to be one of those books that changes me and makes me think about things differently, and maybe just enhances my experience with like life in a way, because it's interesting to think of how life could go in different directions depending on the little decisions that you make from day to day. And I've always been fascinated by stories like that, so I think this is one that I'm really going to love, and I'm looking forward to reading it. But I'm also a little bit emotionally cautious because I feel like it is going to break my heart, and it's going to break my heart all throughout the novel, so it'll probably take me a little longer to read because of that, so we'll see. The next one I want to mention is also an emotionally cautious novel for me because I think it's going to break my heart, and I recently hauled this actually, and that is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I originally got this because I was going to buy Circe, and then I was told that I have to read this one first because Circe does give away some of the items and situations in this book. And I ended up getting this one and reading the synopsis and then watching reviews of other people reading their reviews as well, and just feeling like this might even be better for me than Circe will be. So I'm really excited. Madeline Miller's writing and stories have been praised. This is a retelling of Achilles and I guess his love life, and also in the quest of saving Helen of Sparta. I personally love Greek mythology. I am Greek, so these types of stories are always right up my alley in terms of reading them. They're different than the other epic fantasies that I like, but it is definitely well within my reading taste, so I'm prepared to cry heavy tears for this. I think it's gonna be one of those novels that I might read quickly, but I think might put me into like a tiny reading slump just because I'll be scared to go into another novel lest my heart be broken once again. But even still, I look forward to this, and hopefully I can buddy read this so that I can have someone to like cry to when I read it. So we'll see if I can get that arranged. The next one is one that everyone's talking about, and it's so popular I'm not gonna go too into the synopsis, and that is Legend Board by Tracy Dion. I ended up getting 2 copies of this kind of by accident, but like I'm not mad at it at all. I think it's amazing. This book is a Arthurian retelling, and it starts off with a really tragic situation happening to our main character, and then her discovering that she has magical powers in this institution that she's learning at. So it is kind of like I think a dark academia, magic academia type of novel with an Arthurian retelling aspect to it, and I am stoked. I haven't heard any bad things about this one either. I've heard only really positive things, so this is one that's really high on my list and has been on my 10 books to read list. So if you haven't seen that video, I will link it up below so you can take a look. But oh my gosh, how gorgeous. Can we talk about this beautiful cover? Oh my gosh, it's stunning, and I can't wait to get into it. So if you guys have read it, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of it. But I haven't heard one bad thing about this book. So the next book is actually a series, and I ended up buying the entire series of special editions. They haven't come in yet. I haven't read any of these books and I still bought the expensive special editions, which I know everyone is like, why would you do that? What if you don't like them? Well, if I don't like them, I'll just sell them to someone who does like them and who would want these editions for themselves. But in the meantime, I think I will really like this series and I will absolutely love it. The fact that I bought special editions when I saw that they were coming out with them. So Fairy Loot recently came out with them. I think the sale was a couple months ago and they're supposed to be shipping these copies out in February. So hopefully I'll get them soon. But I do have digital copies to read until then, and that is the Ember in the Ashes series by Sabaa Tahir. I have heard everyone rave about this. People that read YA, people that don't read YA, people that don't really like YA have all raved about this series, and I've even heard some booktubers, at least like 3 or 4 of them, say that this is like grimdark light. And to be honest, I haven't really read a lot of grimdark. I'm not sure if I would like that subgenre, but it's one that I'm intrigued by because there are some really interesting books within that subgenre that I do want to read. So hopefully I'll like it enough to enjoy the atmosphere and the gore and everything that goes along with grimdark. And I think An Ember in the Ashes would be a great place to start since it's like a light version of it, and see if I'll like at least that much, and then hopefully go into the genre more. If you guys have any good grimdark recommendations, let me know. I know that Patrick Leo did a top 10 grimdark fantasies video, which I do plan on checking out, but I would love to see if there are any books that would be good lead-ins to grimdark fantasy besides this series. So I'm excited for this. I'm excited to see my beautiful copies, and I'm excited to read the Kindle copies of this series. The next one is another one that's been kind of raved about on BookTube, not extensively, but there's definitely been positive recommendations for this book, even if it hasn't been like super hyped, and that is The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. Now this is a debut novel. It debuted last year and I ended up getting a copy of it, but I haven't gotten to it yet. It is adult fantasy and it is centered around bone shard magic and how bone shards themselves contain magic. I don't know a ton more about this. I know kind of how the author got the idea, and I thought that was really interesting, but I want to go into this without knowing too much because I predict the world is going to unfold in this really beautiful way where I'm not going to want to know too much because I'm going to enjoy that unfolding in this novel. So this is the first in a series, and again, I've just heard nothing but rave reviews about it. I don't think I've heard one person say one bad thing. It's ended up on a lot of people's favorites list for 2020, so hopefully it ends up on my favorites list for 2021. And yeah, if you guys have read this one, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. All right. Oh my gosh, this has been like the longest. I feel like this has been like the longest list ever for whatever reason, but we were only down 9 books. But the last book on my list that I have formed is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. I can never get the name of this right. I think one of them is the series name and one of them is the book name for the series, but either way, this gorgeous book, I can't wait to get into it. I've heard so many good things from Sarah J. Maas fans, but I've also heard really good things from people that don't necessarily like her other works but have really enjoyed this adult novel. So I think I'll just love it, like regardless. I think I'm gonna just enjoy it. I am actually trash for Sarah J. Maas, so I feel like I'm gonna enjoy it even if people that didn't like her didn't like this, but people that didn't like her other works love this novel, and that just gives me all the more confidence that I'm going to enjoy it as well. I will add 2 bonus reads because I want to just mention these, but I don't want to go into them. And the first one is A Court of Silver Flames. Now, if you know me at all, you know that I'm so excited for this book. It is in the romance fantasy subgenre, but I really love one of the main characters so much, and he is just amazing and hilarious, and I definitely want to see his journey with another character that I can kind of relate to at times. And so I just think it's going to be a really fun ride. It's supposed to be a chunker, like 750 pages, which I wasn't expecting, but I'm not mad at it because this is an anticipated release for me, and I don't think I'm going to want the story to end. So I'm really excited for that one. The other one I want to mention is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I have a copy of this physically, but I just want to have it on me right now. This is another fantasy romance one that I've heard a lot of good things. A lot of friends that I've heard that read it and that really loved the Sarah J. Maas novels have also really loved this novel, so it's like for fans of that. And there's also some like vampirism in it as well. I have heard of some not so great reviews for From Blood and Ash, so I'm keeping that in mind, but I am trusting the taste of other booktubers that I really enjoy who have really enjoyed this novel, and that I do think it will be a 5-star read for me. But I say that with less confidence than the other 10 and 11 books that I've mentioned because of some of the things I've heard about the novel that I don't know that I'll like about it. So we will see. If you guys have read From Blood and Ash, like the first 2 that have been released, let me know. I'm definitely going to read them in the next couple of months because I want to see if I like it enough to pre-order the 3rd one that's coming out in like May or something. So we'll see, but I am excited for that one just to read and discover the world, and I've just heard so many things about the romance. So let's see what I think. So that is my list plus a couple bonus books of the 5-star prediction list that I have for myself, at least for like the first half of the year or the first few months. If you guys have read any of these novels, feel free to comment down below what you thought of them. If you guys haven't read them and want to buddy read any of them, let me know. A few of these I have for buddy reads already, but you can always join us. If you like this video, please click the like button down below since that does help me. And if you do like my content, please hit the subscribe button below because I will be releasing some more content that I am sure you do not want to miss. Thank you.